Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh Radia. I'm your host. I love this podcast. I feel so blessed with it, with the people it's getting to, and just the connection it's having. My objective when I started it was to really guide people on their spiritual journey and really simplify it. And with the messages I'm getting on a weekly basis, so grateful. So I always love to say thank you. My name is Nimesh. You can also call me Nims. I'm an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. I love what I get to do. I get to guide people to shine the light. So much is happening on the planet, and we're all going through so much, and I get to guide people. I love what I do, and I love this podcast, and I love the fact that I get to have some amazing guests on this podcast. And I'm excited to have Jen McCarty on this podcast. And Jen, I'd love to start with you introducing yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Jen McCarty. I am a spiritual teacher / spiritual activator, and I help people awaken on their spiritual journeys, really, very similar to Nim. I had a very powerful spiritual awakening when I was 21 years old, and it was when I went to India for the first time, and I travelled high up to the Himalayas, and I met this woman there, and she said to me, "Oh, you must chant the mantra Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya." And I was very young and naive, and I hadn't even heard of that mantra before, but I chanted it about 10,000 times that day. And I got to the top of the mountain, and I had been carrying this very, very heavy rucksack, and it was a 12-hour vertical, trek, and it was very grueling. And I got to the top of the mountain, and I was chanting Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And I looked up at the sky, and I just saw this flash in my third eye, and my third eye just blasted open, and I went into God consciousness, and I saw God everywhere, in every blade of grass, every molecule of oxygen, every fruit, every leaf, every flower, everywhere. I just saw God, and I realized that everything is all one, and that we're all one, and that this is basically a creation of oneness, and that. And prior to that experience, I had really believed my egoic identity. I believed that I was separate. I believed I was abandoned. And I share with people that from that experience, it was like I was a singular drop of water, and I was very much invested in my individual identity as a singular drop of water. But on the mountain, I had this experience where the singular drop of water returned home to the ocean, and my consciousness went oceanic, and that was through the realization of oneness with all that is. And that basically triggered a very, very, very powerful Kundalini awakening. And I just sort of like literally went into an awakened state of consciousness, like my whole adult life. And then, but I didn't really go public sharing my gifts for about 25 years. Because I had a lot of shadow work to do. I had a lot of integration work to do. I had a lot of embodying it, so it took me a long time to actually go out there and start sharing my spiritual teachings. But I've been going for about 9 years now, sharing.
Wow, I love that. And I love when the universe kind of takes over and gives us that awakening. And I'm sure that changed the trajectory of your life. So I love, and I include Om Namah Shivaya in the show notes. And
Oh, really?
so I'll include the comments because that's it's to do with Shiv Bhagwan, who's like one of the main Hindu gods. He's really meant to be the destroyer. I think of more of a reset. But Om Namah Shivaya and repeating it is such a powerful way to reset. And yes, I love it. But tell me more about, take us through more your journey from then in terms of what did that lead you in, kind of what advice can you give to people who are kind of going through something right now? I really do feel like it's like a mass consciousness upgrade right now. People are going through rebirth upgrades, and everybody seems to be going through something at such a deep level. And I'm a big believer that everything exactly is how it should be. This change has been planned, but I also believe that we have a role to guide people, not to fix people, not to push people aside, but to guide them. And what parts of your story can you share that you feel would help other people that who are on kind of some sort of spiritual awakening? I'd love to hear, and any guidance you can give people, I think would be great.
Okay, so for me, I've always really, really embraced shadow work, and it's often people don't even know what it is, but in a way, it's like your shadow gets activated when you get triggered, Like, so say, for example, you know, your friend is the one that gets married and you feel like, oh, why is it always her who's getting married? Why am I not the chosen one? So then that is an example of an aspect of your shadow consciousness is getting triggered by that relationship. And then if you do a little bit of exploring, you'll find that there is most likely a program or a belief. And with that particular sort of issue, maybe you'll find that you have a belief that you never get chosen, that you're always the last one picked. And then it's like you then have to follow the trail back to, like, where was the first time that you ever experienced that? Maybe it was in school, maybe it was with a friend who, you know, you had a best friend and she didn't want to play with you the next day, and then that made you believe this, I'm never get picked. And so what I sort of share with people is that our triggers and our shadows are where we can really reap the gold on our spiritual path. Because while something remains in the shadow, we don't really have full access to it. And it's kind of siphoning our energy in a little way. But the moment it comes forward and we integrate and we sort of like bring the light to that what was in the shadows, then what happens is, to me, it's a bit like being on a Pac-Man level, and then it's like you're on that level and then you see a gold star. And to me, the shadow work is the gold star, because once you actually face your shadow, meet it, bring the light to it, and understand where the root of it is, it's no longer a program, it becomes a choice. And then through that awareness, then you can go to the next level of the Pac-Man game. So I would say to people that people often are really, really afraid of their shadow, and they think it's not very spiritual, that I shouldn't have got triggered. But we all get triggered, like, no matter what level we're at, you know, because while we're in this density, this third dimensional density, you know, there's always going to be something for us to work with, really. So I would just say, don't be afraid of your shadow. Like, run towards it. Like, be grateful when you get triggered, because it's a chance for you to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And it's a chance for you to harness a great more of your spiritual power, really. So I'd say that, Nim.
Yeah, so, and that's really beautiful said. I mean, the way I like to look at it is, we're all students, right? If you think of your life as being a student, if you get triggered, then becoming curious, you know, where change your question. How is this serving me? When was the first time I experienced it? And, you know, as you start to unravel, it could be this lifetime, could be past life, but it is an opportunity to grow, right? And it is and anyone, again, just my opinion, but anyone that says they're healed, I don't know. I really feel healing is a lifetime journey. It's like, if something comes up and you're triggered, it is an opportunity. It's because you're ready to heal that part of you.
Yeah,
I love the fact you
definitely.
said get excited, right? Because I think you should.
Yeah, I do. I get really excited. I mean, there's always a little moment of where it's a bit, you know,
Sure.
uncomfortable. And if you can look beyond that uncomfortability and realize that your higher self is presenting you with a gift, because you really are ready to go to the next level. Otherwise, that trigger wouldn't have happened. It would have just stayed dormant in your subconscious
Yeah.
mind. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the triggers are great. So I would say that's a really, really big part of our spiritual journey. And to be honest with you, I spent a lot of my 20 years after my awakening really, really going very, very deep into my shadow consciousness. And in a way, like I share with people that enlightenment experience that I had, it was a bit like this light went on in this big massive school hall, and in the school hall there was a lot of clutter, there was a lot of cobwebs, there was a lot of mess from my ancestry, from my past lives, and my subconscious mind was a bit of a mess. Even though I transcended into God consciousness, what I realized is that you actually has to go through the body. You can't actually escape the embodiment process. That was what I learned in my awakening, was that I then had to, even though I knew that God is the only real reality that exists, with that awareness, I then had to go in and I had to clean up the mess of my subconscious mind, really, and my programs. You know, a lot of that comes from the programming, particularly around like my mother. My mother was a bit of an atheist. She used to say to me, like, when you die, and things like that. And like that was my mum's amazing. She's an angel. She thought she was doing her best. But things like that, I had to heal from that. I had to, you know, transform my consciousness through those negative programs that I had believed.
Yeah. And I believe that the soul in some way has already agreed what we need to experience in this lifetime, right? Already kind of, and so many people want a quick fix, right? Want to kind of tell me what I need to do and I'll be fixed. None of us need fixing, but we do need to do the healing, right? This is that we need to do the work. And, the work that we do, I feel, can accelerate your journey, but we're not here to fix your journey, right? You have to, you have to do the inner child work. You have to do the shadow work, as you called it. It's part of why you're here. And yeah, I mean, we also decided to heal ancestral karma too, right? So we are, and that's why if you feel what everybody's going through, everybody's feeling things at such a deep level, because we have to also heal ancestral karma. It's a really interesting time, and I get it's intense for some people, but it's exactly how it's meant to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And maybe I'm crazy, but I kind of love it, right? It's that kind of gets me excited when so much change is happening and we can guide so many people. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So your journey after 20 years, I mean, you talked about doing a lot of healing work and dealing with the shadow, and what about more recently? How have you been serving and sharing and connecting in whatever way?
So I basically experienced what I now call a twin flame ascension experience in 2013. And then I almost feel like the first awakening was the dress rehearsal for that experience in a way. So through that experience, I connected with my twin flame on the spiritual planes. And through that union with my twin flame, my consciousness went into full multidimensionally awakened consciousness. And so my awakening took on a new flavor, you could say. And I was particularly focused on fifth dimensional consciousness and deeply understanding and embodying and integrating fifth dimensional consciousness and really deciphering and understanding what all that means. And so from that place of really deeply awakening in my multidimensionality, I started doing a lot of writing, and I started channeling messages about the current energies and stuff like that with the ascension timeline. And eventually I used to be a fashion designer, but the universe kind of stopped supporting me to be a fashion designer, and then I knew that I was getting sort of like redirected on my path. And so from that I wrote my first blog. And then one day my friend came to visit me, and I read him my blog, and he said he got really, really major goosebumps. And that was like such a positive reaction for someone to give you when, when you've never shared your writing with anyone. And then that kind of like gave me the confidence to like share my channeled writing. And so at this point, like, no one knew me. I didn't have any following or anything like that. But I wrote my blog, and I posted it on Facebook, and I decided that I was going to write in a way that was assuming that everyone was at a very, very high level of consciousness. I wasn't going to dumb down my message. I wasn't going to simplify it. I was just going to really, really go in there at a high level. And immediately people were writing to me saying, "Oh my God, Jen, I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for someone like you to come along and really, really honor where we're at with this journey, And so from the blog, I instantly attracted my tribe, and people just started flocking to me, and my following started like really rapidly going up on Facebook and what have you. And then eventually I started running these online ceremonies, which I do every month for the 7766, Magdalene Feast Day, the Solstice, the Equinox, Samhain, Beltane, Imbolc, like all these festival days. I host online ceremonies. So that was a big thing that I transitioned to. And then I've bought through loads of courses, and I've written 13 books, Nim.
That's wow. Well
Yeah, I've
done.
written 13 books. And actually, so this interview was set up by my publisher, Muse Oracle Press. And because they have supported me in the bringing forth of this book called The Little Book of Neville Goddard Quotes. So I never really had a spiritual teacher. Like on my journey, I never really had a teacher. But it was around 2000 and I don't know, 22, I would say. It was almost like I was in the right side of my brain, and I was getting all the downloads, and I didn't have any space for any other teachers in my reality. But then I suddenly had exhausted that, and I suddenly found myself open and ready to start connecting with other amazing teachers. And that's when I connected with the teachings of Santos Bonacci in his earlier teachings. And that was very life-changing for me. And then that then brought me to Neville Goddard. And I actually really deeply connected with Neville Goddard. I have read his book, it's a book of 10 of his books, and I've read it from cover to cover 4 times, and it's got about 2,000
Wow.
pages in it. And so I have really deeply assimilated the teachings of Neville Goddard. I adore the teachings of Neville Goddard. And so because I have understood them at such a deep level because of my spiritual awakening, I then took the most powerful teachings and the powerful quotes from those book of 10 books, and I basically poured them into this book. And so there's all these different sections. If you like, may I read a quote and I could share?
Please do. Please do.
Okay. Do you want to just say a page number? Do you want to say a page number between 1 and 250?
155.
155. And I'll see what the message is. A very effective way to pray for oneself is to use the formula of Job. He found that his own captivity was removed as he prayed for his friends. Fix your attention on a friend and have the imaginary voice of your friend tell you that he is or has that which is comparable to that which you desire to be or have. As you mentally hear and see him, feel the thrill of his good fortune and sincerely wish him well. This awakens in him the corresponding vibration of the state affirmed, and this vibration must then objectify itself as a physical fact. You will discover the truth of the statement, blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. The quality of mercy is twice given. So Neville, what he does is he teaches us about the Bible, and he teaches us the true teachings of the Bible. And what he explains is that the literal interpretation of the Bible is explained to 12-year-olds and under. And it is only when you get to 40 that in Judaism, you are taught the true mystical interpretation of the Bible. So you've got literal, allegorical, metaphorical, mystical. And most people are not aware of the mystical teachings of the Bible, but that's what Neville does. He teaches you the mystical interpretation. Like, for example, with tithing, most people see tithing as saying, give 10% of your income to the church. That is not what tithing means. Neville's teachings tell us that tithing means, say, for example, you wanted to manifest a red sports car. That was what your heart desired, was a red sports car. Well, you can't just conjure up a red sports car. You have to give something of yourself to that manifestation. And so what Neville's teachings tell us is that if we want to manifest a red sports car, we have to give 10%. We have to visualize ourselves in the sports car. We have to make sure that we've got space on our drive for the sports car. We need to prepare everything for that. And that is what he means by tithing. You have to give a bit of faith or a bit of actions before the universe then can deliver the 90%. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's not, we can make it about religion, right? But every religion talks about giving back, right?
Yeah.
And giving back in a way that the more you give, the more you get back, right? I mean, Hinduism, Muslim faith, all of it, Christianity, every faith talks about giving back. And if you want to manifest, of course, there's so much importance to visualize it's already done. If you want a partner, make sure you got space in the wardrobes for your partner, right? Make sure there's space in your life, right? And it's that, it sounds really simple, but it's that, if we're trying to manifest something, unless you actually get ready for whatever that is and actually visualize it as if it's already done, how's the universe? It's like ordering from Amazon. Unless you're very clear what you want, how's the universe going to deliver what?
Exactly right. That's exactly right. You have to go on Amazon, you have to choose it, you have to click it, and that's you doing your bit. You can't just sit there and go, oh, it's coming from Amazon, yes, it's on its way. It's like we have to do our little bit so that the universe then can do its big bit.
Yeah, and once we've ordered it, we have to let go of how it's going to be delivered.
And when.
Yeah, 100%, because there's divine timing to it, and it's that
there's divine timing.
That's sometimes the difficulty. It's like, well, hold on a second, when's it coming? And then all of a sudden it's that doubt that sometimes delays things, right? God's delays are not God's denials. There's a certain timing to everything. And maybe there's some healing or some releasing you need to do before you get there too, right? And it's that,
Yeah.
it's taking that trustful and just trusting and just letting go of. I mean, right now, how much control do we have over anything? Let's be honest. It's that if you look at the last few years, this year as an example, it's been intense. So much releasing for so many people. But the only control we have is of this moment. What do we focus on this moment?
We
And,
control our own consciousness.
yeah,
We
this
have more
moment, right?
control over
Yeah,
our consciousness.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But Neville's teachings are so powerful. Like I adore his biblical teachings because I grew up in like a Catholic school and I really rejected the Bible and the whole literal and I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't resonate for me. But then I finally came to Neville and I was like, oh my God, I love the Bible now. Now I've fallen in love with the Bible because I understand it's a mystical, it's not a literal story about Abraham living X thousand years ago. It's not about that. It's
Yeah.
about the teaching of the human consciousness. And, so I really highly recommend this book in a way because it breaks down. It's like I've pulled out all of the most powerful teachings of Neville Goddard and I've basically put it in there. So I'm really super proud of this offering. And also with Muse Oracle, I've turned this book into an Oracle deck. So you
Oh,
shuffle
wow.
the deck, yeah, and then and then Steph, the designer of the Oracle, she has done the most beautiful job with the cards. Like they are stunning. Like she showed me this picture today and it was just like, oh my God, like they're stunning. So really, really, really deeply excited about the Oracle deck that is coming out in September, which accompanies this book. And in the Oracle deck, I've given my teachings. So there's like each card has an interpretation and then it's my understanding of Neville's teaching. So here I'm just giving his quotes, but in the Oracle deck I'm actually breaking it down,
Yeah,
so
so
it's
beautiful.
amazing. I love Neville.
I can tell. I can tell. I
Yeah,
love the energy. And
yeah,
it's like a lot of people get hung up on the religion, and for me, I believe every religion has a place, right? It's like a religion in a way somehow gives you guidelines, and your spiritual journey is, for me, again, more about self, more about your soul journey. But whatever religion resonates with you, maybe that's a guidebook for you. And it's just, sometimes we get hung up because people's interpretation of the religion is sometimes control. Whereas actually, if you go on your own journey, what resonates with you, then don't make it so much about the religion. Make it, as you said, you found Neville at the right time and
yeah,
he resonated with you.
big
And this is
time.
the thing, is that, so I love it. I'll include, links to your book and also your monthly webinars in the show notes. So if anybody wants to join, please do so.
Yeah, my next webinar is the 7-7 Gateway. So I'm going to be basically turning it into more of a mystery school. So it's going to be on the 7th of, I don't know, when are you going to post this? Is it going to be after?
Yeah, it'll be the after. It'll be the
So then the one that will be coming up for that will be the Magdalene Feast Day, which is the 22nd of July, where I'll be hosting an amazing ceremony to really deeply honour the divine feminine and to go deep into the teachings of Mary Magdalene.
Wow.
So I'll give you all of those links and
Yeah,
I'll send you my links and you can decide which ones that
sure.
you want to share.
Beautiful.
But I'd also just love to touch upon what you mentioned earlier about Shiva, because I recently got back from India, Arunachala in Tamil Nadu in January. And when I went there, I ended up having a bit of a dark experience there. And then through that dark experience, I met the energy of Lord Shiva. Like he appeared to me, and basically when he appeared to me, I embodied him. Like he actually came into me, and I embodied him. And what he told me is that Shiva is the god that will show up in the deepest darkness, wherever there is darkness, and and the sort of the need for transformation. That's when you meet Shiva's energy. So I met Shiva through this experience, and he basically showed me about the lingam, the phallus, and he showed me that the reason why the divine masculine has been given the gift of the lingam, the phallus, is because the divine masculine, it was like, the Bible tells us that Adam was born first out of Adam and Eve. And so I never really understood that teaching. But what Shiva told me is that when the twin flames, Adam and Eve, Krishna Radharani, Shiva Shakti, Mary Magdalene, Jesus Christ, these are all symbolic of the twin flames. when they came from the spiritual realms into the physical realms, it was the divine masculine soul that incarnated first. And through him incarnating first, he took on the lower notes of the third dimensional octave. So he was brave enough to interface with the war codes, the separation codes, the conflict codes, the competition codes, all the lower energies of the human nature. The divine masculine was brave enough to kind of like embody that. And so what the book is about, it's about this ode of devotion to the divine masculine soul for his bravery, for coming first and taking the hit, quite frankly, for the divine feminine, so that when she incarnated, she did not have to go into the lowest notes of the third dimensional octave. She could actually kind of like go in the mid-range, where and so in a way it was sort of like cushioned us when the feminine was incarnated. So this is what Lingam worship's all about. It is about my journey of meeting Shiva and Shiva's teachings around the phallus and what the phallus represents. And what he told me is that the masculine has been given the holy phallus as a symbol of a rope, that when he holds that rope, he feels at one with God, and he feels safe, and he feels at one with his God self, as a way to always remind him about God, because it was kind of like more of a forgetting that happened for the divine masculine than it did for the divine feminine, because she's a mother, she has the womb portal, she has the heart energy, much more easier for her to remember God, you know.
Yeah.
So the masculine was given the phallus as a way to remind him that he's always safe with his God self. So that's what the book's about. It's a really beautiful, exquisite offering. And I've gone into the teachings of white tantra, black tantra, grey tantra. And what I've discovered through this book, writing this book, is that these are the teachings of the temples. These are the Kama Sutra teachings of the Hindu temples. They are teaching us about sacred sexuality, you know. And so this book is literally a sacred sexuality guidebook for the new earth.
Wow.
So
I love it. And I really do. I feel like we're in the age of the feminine, and I do feel like the masculine is struggling for identity and balance. And
yeah,
you know, because we've been in, you know, kind of, if you look at the last few centuries, whatever, it's really has been about power and the masculine energy. And as we go into this age of rebirth and spirituality, and you know, and look, we all have feminine, masculine. So I'm not talking about the male, I'm talking about the masculine energy, right? And I really do feel like energetically we're looking for that balance between feminine and masculine. It's that interesting when you talk about you know, Adam being born first. It's like, yeah, so it's an interesting take. And as far as Shiva's concerned, you know, there's no light without dark. And you know, Shiva, whenever I open the Akashic records, he's always there. And he's for me, when you're going through a dark period, like I mean, the Shiva lingam is quite a big thing in Hinduism anyway. It's just it's a sign of prosperity, but actually rebirth. If I think about it, and the shivling, I carry the shivling whenever I travel. It's part of.
oh, wow.
I love the stone because it's such a. It energizes me. It's just there's something about it, and like I said, Shiva's always around. When I open the Akashic records, I feel his energy around me a lot. I feel very blessed with that because he is all about rebirth, and I just love that energy of. Because there's, you know, we all worry about darkness. We all have light and dark. It's all, you know, there's no good or bad. It just is. And, you know, if an energy and a vibration can help and guide you through it, why not? You know, just embrace that energy. And there's so many stories about Shiva in terms of what he done, you know, from a humanity perspective. And, you know, just if it's interests you, then, you know, do some research. Maybe something resonates. I want to take you back a little bit in terms of something you said, because, you know, we kind of talk, we drop these terms in, things like twin flames and channel writing. And I'd love for you to talk more about what does twin flames mean to you?
Okay, yeah. So what I was shown, everything that I share, apart from the Neville teachings, comes from my direct link with source energy. And so what I was shown is that before we came into physical matter, we all existed as a blob of light, or a diamond of light. That is us in our antimatter phase. And at some point within the life of all that is antimatter, it was decided that we would split. We would activate what was called the original split. And so when the original split happens, so you imagine there's this blob of white light, and then that blob of white light then individuates. And in that original individuation process, what individuates is a unit of androgynous energy. It is a masculine and feminine unified unit of energy. And that is what Plato speaks about, in the symposium and stuff like that, is about this original androgynous unit. And then at some point we stayed in that state for many eons of time, but then it was decided that original unit would split. And then when we split, we then went off on our individual paths, one being the masculine polarity, one being the feminine polarity. But what we are called is tonal mates. We hold the same tonal vibration. We actually hold the same energetic signature as well. And this is to do with the Merkaba. We have the same Merkaba. So in a way, when the twins fractal off from source energy, we are born as one Merkaba, which is the chariot of the masculine and feminine unified field. But then the Merkaba splits. So you have the mother Merkaba, but it then splits into two identical Merkabas. And then each twin flame has their own Merkaba, which is identical to the mother Merkaba. And that's how you recognize your twin flame, because they are the identical spiritual vibration to you. They are your original spiritual mate. They are the energy that was created with you when your soul sprang forth from source energy. You were never ever separate. Like God cannot create masculine energy one day and then the next day create a feminine. Masculine and feminine is one. So God creates masculine and feminine as one unit, and then that then splits. And so our journey is to reunite with our twin. And at the time of Atlantis, Lemuria, Lyra, all these ancient times gone past, we were all with our twin flames because it's in our birth chart. When you look at our birth chart, it's all to do with the North Node. The North Node shows you the direct timeline of your union with your twin flame. And so at the time of Atlantis, you would have been born, you would have looked at your birth chart, then your birth chart would be, you would basically be able to find your counterpart through that. And then everyone was prepared to be with their true counterpart. There was no hookup, there was no casual sex. It was all about just marrying your one and only. The union of the twins kept Atlantis and Lemuria in a very high spiritual vibration. But then when the fall of Atlantis came about through the Nephilim, which is spoken about in the Bible, and through the Nephilim mating with the human women, they then, not the Nephilim, the fallen angels mated with the human women and they birthed the Nephilim. And then the Nephilim were the giants who then basically tampered with humanity's DNA. And that's when we experienced the fall of Atlantis. But at that time, what was targeted was the twin flames, because the way that they could have their third dimensional agenda, because remember, we were 5D in Atlantis, 5D, 6D and above. But in order for them to, impose this dualistic third dimensional reality, the twin flames were specifically targeted. This was done through particularly targeting men and their base nature in many, many ways, and presenting ideas of that it wasn't, that there was like other women that you could be with. It was also men were targeted also to separate from their divine counterparts to go and serve the overlord's war agenda, which actually came into Atlantis at the time of the fall. And so when the men left the women, that activated what was called a soul tear. There was so much trauma which was triggered when the twins split at Atlantis, that in my work, when people come to me for sessions, they very often have issues that are related to Atlantis. You know this about from the Akashic records. Yeah. So a lot of the work is recorrecting the trauma that happened at the time of Atlantis. So I hope that explains with a great context about what a twin flame is.
How does that impact in the human journey? So somebody, because again, so many people, it's like, oh, I have a twin flame, and and again, there's no right or wrong, right? But in practical terms, how does that impact you on this human journey?
Well, I believe, this is my personal opinion, but I believe that we are all here to awaken out of secularism and back to the sacred. And so one of the ways that we do that is through our sexuality. And so we each individually have to come to terms with the fact that every time that we're intimate with someone, we are taking on their parasites, we are taking on their demons, we are taking on all of the other people that they've also been intimate with. And so it's an individual awakening journey where we start practicing sexual hygiene, and we start becoming much more discerning around who we are intimate with, understanding that we've all been hoodwinked with our sexuality, and we have to, we are responsible for pulling us out of this programming, and so that's the first step, is making a decision to yourself that you are only going to connect with someone that where it's a soul-based connection,
Yeah.
But then step 2 from that, whereas where I'm at is where I'm not available to be intimate with anyone other than my twin flame. And then that's the next stage. And I'm happy to be celibate. I've transcended those lower kind of notes in the 3D octave that keep pulling me down in my sexuality. I just know now that I'm absolutely saving myself for my high spiritual partner in the universe. So that's how I think we can apply it, Nims, is through that, making that decision ourselves, and then reading amazing books like Read Twin Flames in the Event, which was my first book that I wrote. People have read that like 8 times. I mean, I've had about 10 people write to me saying, I've listened to your book 8 times, Jen. So there's so many codes in that book that will get you on the right path with this twin flame journey. Understand that you are here to attain enlightenment. That is the reason why you are here. You're either going to attain enlightenment in this lifetime, or 1,000 lifetimes, or next lifetime. One way or another, that is the mission of coming to Earth. So you may as well just accept your mission, and focus on your own enlightenment journey, because that is the quickest, fastest, most efficient way for you to unite with your twin flame.
I love it, and it's interesting. It's like everybody, when you're looking for a partner, you're out there searching. When ironically, it's about you working on you and getting ready for the partner, right? It's just kind of, it's paradoxical, right? It's like
what Rumi said. Rumi said, we're not looking, you're not looking for someone outside, you're looking for that which is already within you,
And that's so powerful. It's like whatever we need is inside us, right? We go outside looking for people to complete us. Why? We're already complete, and everything we need is in ourselves. And it's just that. And it means that, whatever we need, we can find within. And, anything we get external is complementary to that, right? It's just.
We owe our brothers and sisters our completion.
Yeah. So I guess following on from that, if somebody feels like they've met their twin flame, how would that feel like? Can you give us an example of?
Yeah, definitely. So with your twin flame, you feel this kind of like this silence, this calmness in your being, this deep knowing that the search is over, that there's a completion feeling, that there's no more seeking, there's no more searching. There's a very, very, very deep desire to want to see them happy, irrespective of their relationship with you. You want to see them happy, you want to see them thriving, you want to see them really, really achieving success on a spiritual level in their life. Whereas when with a twin flame, it can be, well, what can you give me? Why can't you, it's very much focused on the self. Whereas with the twin flame, there's this sense, it's almost like a mother love in a way. Like you just want them to be free. You want them to thrive. You want them to be flying in life. You have this sense of deep sense of home. Whenever you're around them, you feel like you step into eternal consciousness, and it's like time just stretches. And being with them can, even though you're with them for 5 minutes, it can feel like 5 hours, because time just completely and utterly warps and it stretches. Another indication is that when you're together, what I notice when I'm around my twin flame is that we open spiritual portals. So our love is so strong on the higher spiritual levels that when we physically come into contact with each other, it's like there's like a spillover, a dimensional spillover, and then people start, like, healing energy starts pouring into the atmosphere. People start healing. If you've had a headache, you'll start healing. If you've been feeling depressed, you'll start feeling really, really happy. There's like a literal energetic, it's like a portal. You open portals with your genuine twin flame. You are each other. You are the self of each other. So you look the same, you speak the same, you probably have very, very similar accents in many, many, many ways. I certainly do with my twin flame. It's loads of things.
Love it. I love it. I love the passion, and it is really interesting, kind of what it ignites in you, right? So thank you for sharing. So if somebody wanted to work with you, what would that look like? And give
If
us
someone wanted to
more.
work with me, the best thing to do is read my books. That's really the best thing. I've written 13 books. Also, my website, I've got all these amazing courses. I've got Come into Physical Union with Your Twin Flame. I've got a Spiritual Enlightenment course. I've got a Heal Your Nervous System course. I've got a Transform Your Wealth Mindset course. I've got a How to Write Your First Book course. I've got a Become a Digital Nomad course. I've got all these amazing courses. I regularly run these online ceremonies. The next one will be the 7/7. Then it will be the Magdalene Feast Day. Then it will be the 8/8 Gateway, the Lions Gateway. That will be amazing. Occasionally I open up my schedule to do one-to-one sessions, but I currently am not at the moment.
Okay.
But
Wow.
I'm podcast as well. If anyone hosts podcasts and they see this, I really, really love sharing my teachings. So I'm happy to come on podcasts as well.
I love it. And yeah, thank you for agreeing to come on this podcast.
You're welcome.
So as we're getting ready to close, I always like to ask the guest if there's, because it's like I don't like somebody coming to a podcast without kind of taking some sort of action. So I always love asking the guests if you have some insight, some action, some a listener could take, or is there a journal prompt that maybe allows people to go deep on their journey? Anything you have for our listeners?
Let me pull something through. I mean, what's coming to me is to find a spiritual practice to commit to. Like, if you want to come into enlightenment, you need to have a spiritual practice. And the spiritual practice that I advocate is gratitude. And so going on rampages of gratitude. So flip the script of your consciousness and just randomly just go on rampages of gratitude. Write out in your journal all the things that you are grateful for. Because what we have to understand is that we are all frequency transmitters, and there is a frequency in the universe that keeps the sun shining and the birds flying and the plants growing. That is a very, very benevolent frequency. It is our duty to align ourselves with that benevolent frequency. And we do that. One of the quickest ways that we do that is through gratitude. Gratitude changes your life very, very quickly. Become addicted to gratitude, and you will become a very, very happy person. You will become an unrecognizable person.
I love it. I couldn't agree more. And I always like to recommend intentional gratitude. It's easy to say, I'm gratitude for the food on the table and roof over my head. And of course you should be grateful for those. But when you also pick moments that you're grateful for and you go deep on it, it's like, oh my God, I recorded an amazing podcast with Jen, and you kind of get into it, the emotion of it. What you're doing for yourself is you're creating a magic moment, and you're also asking the universe for more of those magic moments. So I would also recommend becoming intentional with those gratitude. When you have amazing moments, recognize them, remember them, celebrate them. Because again, it changes your world. When you start focusing on gratitude, it does really just change your world. So thank you for that. Thank you for being
That
a
was such a
guest.
pleasure.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for
joining us.
sharing.
If anybody wants to work with me, as I said earlier, I'm an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. Reach out. You can book a free discovery call. You can book an Akashic reading. I love what I do. I get to guide people to shine their light. And Jen, as we close out, I'd love for you to close us out.
Oh, well, I just want to say I'm very, very honoured to meet you, Nim, and I'm really, really honoured to meet your beautiful community. And I will be sharing this podcast with my online community. I've got a really big group on Facebook called The Event Is Happening, and I'm super active on Facebook. I share a lot of my teachings, and it's been a really, really beautiful, deep honour. And if you ever, want me to come on again, I'd be happy to. I've really, really enjoyed this chat, and I've really, really enjoyed connecting with your community. So thank you so much for having me as a guest.
It's been great. I mean, we could talk for hours, right, on this sort
We
of stuff.
could,
I love
definitely.
talking about it.
Yeah, we
Um,
could.
so
We
yeah,
should get
I'll
together again. We'll get together again. I can feed it.
yeah, I'm sure we'll. I'm sure we
Yeah.
will. And I'll include the Facebook details, the Facebook group details, and all that sort of stuff in the show notes. So please do reach out to Jen. If it's ultimately, if a voice resonates with you at a soul level, it means that you've got some sort of soul contract, and maybe there's a connection there you need to explore. Sending so much love and light out to everybody. Thank you. And truly focus on the moment and feel the magic that's happening around you. Bye for now.